You are listening to Aftersight. This recording is intended solely for individuals who are blind or have low vision.
Thank you for joining us for the Ark Valley Voice news program read by Michelle Wexler. This is being recorded on September 20th, 2024. Today, we will be reading the following main articles. Chaffee BOCC approves IGS in lieu of 1041 permit for Triview Metropolitan District, written by Jan Wundra. Chaffee Housing Authority Board meets Thursday, September 19th, considers open meetings media policy, written by Merrill Bergen. Buena Vista Police Department had all hands on deck to keep community dinner safe, written by Carly Winchell. And Hickenlooper colleagues urge federal court to uphold Medicare's ability to negotiate RX drug prices, written by Jan Wundra, and following up with miscellaneous articles. We begin with the first article. Chaffee BOCC approves IGS in lieu of 1041 permit for Triview Metropolitan District. This posted by Jan Wundra. During their Tuesday, September 17th regular meeting, the Chaffee Board of County Commissioners held a public hearing to consider the request by the Triview Metropolitan Water District to waive the 1041 permit process in favor of developing an intergovernmental agreement, IGA, to facilitate their municipal water project on the AVIC and Bale ditches. It followed the discussion about an IGA with a review and acceptance of the Triview Water Court Case Number 2022 CW3004. Planning Director Miles Cottom walked the BOCC through the topic, beginning with noting that Triview, which provides water to Monument in El Paso County, owns ditch rights on the AVIC and Bale ditches, and they are seeking to upgrade their water transfer equipment. It is in water court. We have opposed those. We have imposed restrictions on these, and typically given the change case, we'd govern this with a 1041. But we could do an IGA, and that is what Triview has proposed. Our own Water Council attorney has proposed that we do this. Cottom explained the areas involved. The Bale is located on the north and south forks of the Arkansas near the city of Salida, and the AVIC ditch is along Cottonwood Creek near BV. They are proposing replacing the AVIC with a 30-inch pipe. The areas are near land to be annexed into the city. We are in water court against the action on the Bale ditch. He added that to address those issues, county staff has worked on an IGA that requires revegetation of the 6 acres near the Bale ditch. The impacts are minimal. These are water rights that Triview possesses. We're not inadvertently short-circuiting ourselves for the sake of efficiency, are we? Asked Commissioner Keith Baker. We're not taking a myopic view. Most of these ditches have plans in process to upgrade them, and the impacts to county roads aren't major, said Cottom. Irrigation is now spotty in that area, land owned over by Two Rivers and the land owned by Rob Treat, said County Administrator Don Reimer. It's not being irrigated. There are safeguards for a future change to that Bale water right. Commissioner Greg Felt asked for clarification in the area of the proposed IGA page 2 findings, which begins, the county finds that subject to the requirements of this agreement, Triview and the Triview Water Project will comply with all of the relevant applicable criteria of Chapter 3 in the County 1041 regulations. Specifically, the Bale No. 1 County historically irrigated acreage has not been irrigated for a significant period and, therefore, has no impact on the county. No further terms and conditions are necessary related to the Bale No. 1 County Historically Irrigated Acreage. The AVIC and Bale Ditches augmentation stations have a minimal impact on the county and are subject to the terms and conditions of this agreement. So long as the Bale No. 2 County Historically Irrigated Acreage remains subject to the county's 1041 regulations, Triview shall make no use of the Treat Bale Ditch Water right for its changed purposes under any final decree entered in the Bale Ditches application or under any other conveyance until Triview obtains either a 1041 permit from the county or an amendment to this agreement, which shall be at the sole discretion and direction of the county. After Felt made the motion to accept the IGA process, with Commissioner Wood noting that the IGA protects the county so that Triview can complete its construction work, the BOCC moved on to accept the water decree. It was noted that nothing prevents the Treats, who own the Remain ditch rights, from continuing to irrigate. The only thing to prevent them from what I would say is if they want to partner with somebody else, we'd have to figure out a way for them to use their historic consumptive use for anything other than irrigation, noted Wood. Unless that property gets annexed into the city, that it still is subject to a 1041 permit for some other type of agreement, clarified Felt. The outstanding issue there for the county is the control of revegetation if that got dried up. He went on to ask about some small variances in the numbers in the water decree, and it was confirmed that the final terms and conditions are more restrictive on Triview and less restrictive on the county. Felt made the motion to approve the water decree, Baker seconded it, and it passed unanimously. In a separate public hearing, the BOCC considered the request to transfer the multi-year special event permit, Resolution 2024-18, that it approved earlier this year from Bonfire Entertainment, LLC, to the Chaffee County Community Foundation. The decision applies to the upcoming concert at the Meadows Farm, located at 15264 County Road 350, Buena Vista. That story, Chaffee BOCC approves IGS in lieu of 1041 permit for Triview Metropolitan District. Next up, Chaffee Housing Authority Board meets Thursday, September 19th, considers open meetings, media policies. This posted by Merrill Bergen. The Board of Directors of the Chaffee Housing Authority, CHA, will meet in regular session from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. this Thursday, September 19th. Alternating locations, this session will be held in Salida at 230 West 16th Street, Suite C. Agenda: following consideration and approval of the consent agenda, Marjo Kurgis, Interim Executive Director, will provide her report. Topics include regional housing progress and considerations, investment strategy if successful in November and considerations, communication and outreach strategy board role, board succession planning and timing of executive director ED search. Actions requiring a board vote. 3 resolutions are up for discussion and board votes. Resolution 2024-34, approval of the amended and restated Intergovernmental Agreement, IGA. The funding IGA considers interim funding for the CHA as provided by Chaffee County, the town of Buena Vista, and the city of Salida. As part of the multi-jurisdictional authority, approval has been sought by each of the entities. Salida granted the third and final approval at their September 17th council meeting, subject to final reconciliation of legal language by the attorneys for all parties. while 2 November ballot issues consider longer-term and higher levels of funding. The IGA will provide interim/minimum funding regardless of the vote outcome for 2025 and beyond if necessary, subject to annual appropriations. Resolution number 2024-35, adopting Open Meetings Law (OML) policy. According to Kyrgyz, the OML policy is currently scattered through various policies, and this is adding procedural clarification. Transparency, noticing, and timeliness in a rapidly evolving young organization has been an issue at times. The revised policy addresses these, plus the keeping of minutes, which are currently posted on the CHA website. However, it does not appear to define a date certain after each meeting when electronic recordings will be made available to the media and public. Formal printed minutes are subsequently reviewed and approved at a follow-on meeting, then added to the posting site. The OML policy also considers hiring an executive director and the process for public comment in meetings, again, subjects that have raised concerns in the past. Resolution 2024-36, Revised Media Policy. The CHA has had a media policy in effect. It often entailed lengthy review of any information at the committee level before publication, delaying timely coverage. The revised policy seeks to streamline the issuance of press releases, notably keeping all outward-facing communications in the hands of the executive director or board chair. In addition, it defines regulation for board member conduct as well as rules for public and private statements by members. The latter has been a source of friction within the CHA. As a multi-jurisdictional authority, the CHA is accountable to their governmental bodies and to the public. As the sole media outlet which has covered the CHA since even before its inception, Ark Valley Voice has a mission of holding officials and boards to account and acting as the eyes and ears of the public that the CHA serves. AVV looks forward to working with the CHA in the joint mission of keeping the public informed with the facts. Other items for discussion. Among other items for discussion will be consideration for a board retreat, the board roster, and a process and timeline for the fiscal year 2025 budget. Major milestones include a draft budget to be sent to the Finance Committee by September 30th, a public hearing and board vote on December 19th, and a vote to adopt the budget no later than December 31st, 2024. Any post-election impacts to the budget will be taken up by the board at their November 21st meeting. The complete agenda for the meeting is at a link in this article. The public is welcome to attend, although space is very limited in the Salida location. For those wishing to listen in remotely, access and instructions are linked in this article below. That article, Chaffee Housing Authority Board meets Thursday, September 19th, considers open meetings, media policies. Also in the news, Buena Vista Police Department had all hands on deck to keep community dinner safe. This posted by Carly Winchell. Big events require big security measures. The Buena Vista Police Department, BVPD, reported that there were 2,552 seats reserved at the BV Strong Community Dinner this year. In addition to these dinner guests, a strong law enforcement presence was visible on Main Street to ensure safety during such a large gathering. BVPD Chief Dean Morgan walked up and down the street throughout the dinner, keeping an eye on the situation. Other officers walked or stood along the sidewalk, some stepping in and participating in the dinner before returning to their duty. Security was also present up high. 2 visible members of the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office Combined Tactical Team watched from the rooftop of the 1st Colorado Land Office on the west end of the street. Others were watching from the roof of the La Vista Apartments building above Cool River on the east end of Main Street. Ark Valley Voice reached out to BVPD Chief Morgan for more details on security measures and the agencies involved in keeping the BV Strong dinner safe. There are numerous security and safety concerns in this day and age when there are large gatherings, and it is definitely a drain on resources to provide proper security, commented Chief Morgan. All of our officers were on duty and working at the street level. Chief Morgan said officers were not only interacting with the community, but also helping people find tables and occasionally taking reports of lost kids. All this while also looking out for suspicious behavior, suspicious packages, and other potential threats. To help prevent vehicles from driving into the crowd, BVPD contracted with Meridian Rapid Defense Group to provide special barricades at both ends of the street. These are very expensive to purchase, so we rented them this year. But hopefully the town can buy some at some point, and we're having more and more events like this with large crowd sizes, said Chief Morgan. These barriers are specifically designed to stop vehicles. Chief Morgan said tactics to provide a higher vantage point are important security measures at events with large crowds like the community dinner. Without going into all of our tactics, it is important to have this overwatch, as things can be seen from the higher vantage point that can't be seen from the street level, and there could be potential threats on rooftops, as have been seen at some other events around the country, that can only be observed by officers with a higher vantage point, said Chief Morgan. We also made use of a drone to help us keep an eye on rooftops and other areas, Morgan continued. Chief Morgan's proposal to the Buena Vista Board of Trustees for his 2025 budget presentation discussed some safety and security concerns related to events with large crowds. It references things that some people don't like to think about, but that is our job, to think about and prepare for, commented Morgan. The proposal states, nationally and globally, there have been attacks on large crowds, and this encompasses larger metro areas and rural areas. It is dangerous to think that it cannot happen here, and local entities from elected officials to first responders to local government and municipal entities have an obligation to ensure the safety of our citizens. Chief Morgan mentioned several notable incidents of tragedies at large events across the world. Consider a drunk driver that drove into a crowd in Manhattan this past 4th of July, killing 3 people. A driver killed 86 people in Nice, France in 2016 by driving a truck into a crowd that was celebrating Bastille Day. In November 2016, a student at Ohio State University crashed his car into a crowd of pedestrians, wounding 14 before getting out and stabbing several of them with a butcher knife. At a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin in 2021, a man drove into a crowd and killed 6 and injured 62. Events of large crowds being targeted by active killers is growing, to include recent events such as the high-rise shooter at the Mandalay Bay 2017, who killed 60 people and wounded over 400 at a country music concert in Las Vegas. At a 4th of July parade in 2022, a rooftop shooter killed 6 and wounded at least 30 in Highlands Park, Illinois. In 2013, a terrorist attack occurred at the Boston Marathon, where a pressure cooker bomb killed 3 and hundreds were injured, including 17 people who lost limbs. And the list goes on, wrote Chief Morgan in the proposal. The proposal advocated for the use of the specialized barriers rented for the community dinner. Chief Morgan said using police, town, or emergency vehicles was no longer an option because smaller vehicles are not an effective barricade, and larger vehicles can be damaged and unusable if rammed. These are just some of our thoughts and considerations, said Chief Morgan. Being a smaller department, we very much appreciate the support of the Sheriff's Office helping us with events like this. Ark Valley Voice asked Chief Morgan if he had any advice for community members on what they can do when attending events like the community dinner to help keep themselves safe and to enable law enforcement to do their jobs effectively. Yes, we do a lot of public education on the Standard Response Protocol, which initially started with school safety, but recently this has been adopted for businesses too. We train our schools on this, churches, businesses, banks, etc. It gives a lot of common sense direction for what to do if there may be a threat in the area, said Chief Morgan. More information on the Standard Response Protocol, SRP, is available at I Love You Guys, that's I Love the letter U, guys.org. If there is an actual incident of violence, our best advice is to have a plan, continued Morgan. The FBI has done a lot of research about what saves lives during incidents like an active shooter, and they promote the simple run, hide, fight concept. If you can get away, then get out of the area to somewhere safe, said Morgan. If you can't get away, find a place to hide or barricade. If these options are not available, then fight with whatever you have on hand. He highlighted the importance of having a plan in place to follow if something happens. Having a plan is key, and having given forethought to what you and your family would do if something happens is important. We also advocate for situational awareness, the if you see something, say something mindset. The best dynamic for public safety is when the public and the police can work together, concluded Morgan. That story, Buena Vista Police Department had all hands on deck to keep community dinner safe. Next up, Hickenlooper colleagues urge federal court to uphold Medicare's ability to negotiate RX drug prices. This posted by Jan Wondra. The recent ability of Medicare to negotiate drug prices has been a boon for those whose chronic and serious medical conditions require them to take pharmaceuticals. For senior citizens on fixed incomes to young families of children with asthma, this congressional bill has been what many are calling a godsend. Today, U.S. Senators John Hickenlooper, Amy Klobuchar, Peter Welch, and 12 of their Senate colleagues filed an amicus brief urging the Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to uphold the constitutionality of Congress authorizing Medicare to negotiate lower drug prices for consumers. Their actions are in response to a move by big pharmaceutical companies that have sued in federal court to stop Medicare from lowering prices in 2 court cases: AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals versus Becerra, Bristol-Myers Squibb Company versus Becerra, and Janssen Pharmaceuticals Inc. versus Becerra. Congress gave the Secretary of Health and Human Services, HHS, similar authority to address the extraordinary and unsustainable increase in the prices that Medicare pays for pharmaceutical products that lack generic competition and that account for a disproportionate share of Medicare's expenses, wrote the senators. The program takes nothing from the pharmaceutical industry, not its drugs and not its patients. Like every other market participant, manufacturers may sell their products at prices buyers think is fair or not fair, and buyers may make market choices in turn. Thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, which Hickenlooper helped negotiate and pass, Medicare now has the authority to negotiate drug prices for consumers. More than 100,000 Medicare enrollees in Colorado rely on the drugs that Medicare now negotiates prices for and will directly benefit as a result. The Medicare program and seniors are predicted to save $7.5 billion in the first year thanks to Medicare's negotiations. These negotiated prices range from 38 to 79% in reductions off of list prices. Hickenlooper previously filed amicus briefings in 2023 in the Merck and Company and the Boehringer-Ingelheim cases, urging the court to uphold the constitutionality of the Inflation Reduction Act. That story, Hickenlooper colleagues urge federal court to uphold Medicare's ability to negotiate RX drug prices. And that's all we have time for. Thank you for joining us for the Ark Valley Voice news program read by Michelle Wexler.
If you enjoyed this program, please register for our free services at www.aftersight.org or by calling 303-786-7777.